Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Willie here. The other day when I put the video about the release announcement of TBC, a lot of people were surprised I didn't really talk about the actual monetization that had been included with the expansion beyond saying it exists. Reason being is I'd had to have gone back and redone that video twice already because lots of new news kept coming out. So this is that video, a bit of a different format too as well. We will see how it goes. So let's talk a little bit about all the added value that Blizzard have included with TBC, because there's quite a bit of it. Let's start with the level boost. It will set you back $40 and will give you some random gear, a slow mount, no professions, first aid, and some other bits and pieces, a few gold to get you started. Now the level boost itself is something that people very clearly do want in the game. A while ago after the announcement at BlizzCon, I ran a poll on my own channel to try and gauge people's interest and see what people would say, because there was a lot of outrage after it was announced, and quite rightly so in my opinion. On my channel alone I had 31,000 votes. 61% of those said they would be interested. This was before we knew the price, of course. So what would 61% of 31,000 be? I reckon that's about 8,910 if I do some quick maths, times that by 40, and you have over $750,000 in potential revenue, and that was interest shown from people on my channel alone. And it's pretty easy to mentally justify doing the boost as well. I mean, I can't believe the boosted retail is $60 when it's going to take you way less time there to get from level 1 to whatever the cap may be at the moment. Whereas in Classic, it's pretty easy to say I'm going to do a few hours overtime, or I'm just going to put in a few hours work worth of money into having to skip literally over 100 hours of leveling, because that is realistically what it will take you if you were to start from scratch. Now, I've leveled many characters all the way from 1 to 60. Of course, you only need to be a level 58 to get through the Dark Portal, and the fastest I did it was about 7 days played. And as of the pre-patch, we'll have the 2.3 leveling changes introduced, which will reduce the time it will take by about 30%. So if we were to take 30% off 7 days played, we're left with about 5 days played, which is 120 hours. If we space that out over the 2-week pre-patch we have, that is about 8.5 hours played per day in order to hit level cap if you're playing reasonably efficiently. Now, I never tried to speed level or anything, but that is a lot of time investment when you're already probably wanting to book time off work for the actual release date, never mind the actual pre-patch. So that seems to be another thing which will push people towards buying a boost. Building a world where you would then want players to actively pay to skip parts of it just never came across as very MMO-like to me. And back in the day, they had things like Recruit a Friend. Now, with Recruit a Friend, I think if they released it now for the first time ever and never did it in 2007, people would lose their mind about it because there'd be mounts associated with it, and being able to benefit from having other accounts, which people don't like. See multi-boxing, for example. But that's kind of what people do in general when change comes along. Wrath of the Lich King had heirlooms, and I thought they were quite good. They incentivize you to play the end game content. You buy looms instead of gear, send them to your alts, and your alts get a bit easier to level. That was a pretty good system, I thought, and there are still a lot of people leveling at this point in time. It's not uncommon to do a /who and see many people out in the world. It's 10 AM on a Monday right now, so I think it's going to be overly busy now. In fact, I'd be surprised if it were. Boosts, however, were the first step brought in at BlizzCon, and now we are ramping things up. And just as a little side note, I know people are going to bring up the whole slippery slope. You people who wanted changes, this is what you get. If we are seriously trying to equate both paladins having both seals to a deluxe edition of the game being introduced, I'm not sure I quite see where you're getting that from. Now, on one hand, when we're talking about some changes, if they add a boost and people go, hell yes, I'm going to throw money at that so I don't have to play the game, and then Blizzard go, oh, that's great, well, here are these other things you can buy with real money, I can see how you get from there to there. But as far as some changes goes, where both paladins have both seals and it's very well received, and then they go on to nerf profession swapping and drums of battle, those are more gameplay oriented things, and I see how we get from one to the other, but I just don't see much of a crossover between the two. And there will also, of course, be people saying it doesn't affect me if people were to boost or, you know, purchase the other added value services, which is correct. It doesn't affect me because the game isn't about me. It doesn't revolve around me. The game wasn't made specifically for me. It affects a lot of people in the game, actually. The people who want to level organically. It affects everybody who's trying to earn rewards and make their character stand out via their armor or their mount, things they've worked towards getting in an MMORPG. Those are the kind of people these things affect. Anyways, moving on from that, let's talk about the actual deluxe edition. It's $70 for a re-release, not a remake, not a remaster, just a pure re-release. The actual Shadowlands Epic Edition was the same amount as this, and that had more stuff in it. The Collector's Edition in 2007 was, you guessed it, also $70, and that had all of this stuff in it, albeit some of it is kind of outdated now, like, you know, CD-ROMs and the actual soundtrack and so on. They're not so much of a big deal anymore, but you actually got physical things that you could keep forever as well. I've even seen some people say it's a reasonable price because the mount would come out to about $15. I mean, if that doesn't prove how overpriced the other services are, I don't know what to say. You don't even get a character copy with a deluxe edition either. You get your level boost, which is $40. You get a month's game time, it's $15. And then you've got another $15 to get from somewhere, which is the 2 toys and the mount. You might not even get a single toy for $15 if they were sold separately. There's a reason people make a fuss consistently whenever they see microtransaction things. More than just the appearance of them or, you know, being able to earn things which you couldn't otherwise get in a game. It's a game where, at least on retail, you pay a box fee, you already pay a sub fee, and then it's monetized on top of that. It's things where Blizzard take a lot of time and effort to work on cool new models in-game, whilst the players get 3 different frogs that cost 33,000 gold each, talking about BFA by the way there, of course. There's a reason they didn't put a mount in the Collector's Edition in TBC. You know the base mounts that you get as part of TBC, the Griffins and the Wind Riders? They look very basic, and they're made to look very basic. Even the epic versions are just those with some armor attached to them. They're the mounts that we knew from Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor. So when you do move on and you acquire one of the mounts from the expansion, we're talking about your Cenarian Hippogriffs, the Netherray mounts, the Neverdrakes, and so on and so forth. They look really special and they stand out. People are going to say at the moment that it's only a ground mount, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, I can think of a certain model which would make a rather nice flying mount, so I could see that being a thing in the future as well. Maybe even the NPC Landro Longshot, who is due to be repurposed in some way, could be used to do this. But that's enough about those two. We have $40 for the boost, we have $70 for the deluxe edition. The one final thing to talk about is the cost of copying your character to the classic era server, where you can keep them on both versions of the game. It's $35. And I believe compared to those other two things, this one is actually the worst, which I can't really believe I'm saying it. But in order to have that privilege of being able to continue playing your character on the classic era realms, which were designed to be a love letter to the community, Blizzard's own words back then, it's going to set you back $35 per character. How is it this much? This is borderline just sabotaging the classic era service at this point. I cannot believe they think that this is in any way an acceptable price for the service they're offering. Personally, I want to copy a character over, but it's more so for the videos rather than actually playing it. I'm considering just putting it through as an expense for work at this point because I highly doubt I'll be getting any enjoyment of playing on the dead servers. Now, I've always thought the classic era servers wouldn't be overly popular anyway because I think the majority of the players want to move into TBC, but for Blizzard to charge $35 for this is just, it's unbelievably unreasonable. Do you remember this at all? It was a survey sent out to a number of people a while ago, and it basically said, how much would you pay to copy your character to classic era? And different people were sent out different price points. We can see this person here had been asked whether they pay $30. As we scroll down here, we can see other people were sent different surveys ranging from $10 to $40 for this particular service. Now, are we to believe that out of everybody who's been sent this survey and had answered it, that the majority were like, yes, Blizzard, I would absolutely love to throw near the highest price point you're offering for this particular service? Obviously, different people wouldn't have known about the different prices, but it really feels like this is taking advantage of some of the most loyal players in the game who do want to keep their characters on both versions of the game. This feels like some kind of door-in-the-face technique where initially you're given an outrageous offer which you're just never going to accept, and then it's lowered to a point where it's still not really acceptable if it were the initial offer, but it seems better, so you do end up being more accepting of it. Still, though, it's Blizzard, so I don't expect them to pop around the corner and say, okay, guys, 35, we were just joking, it's only going to be 25 per character, which would still be a lot. I expected it to be around the 15 mark or something around there. So yeah, $35, not per account, per character. 2 characters would be like buying a new AAA game, by the way, for something that you can currently do on the beta, by pressing about 2 buttons that takes 10 seconds. Now, I understand to a degree why there is some pricing on this, because you want to gauge interest of how many people are actively invested in continuing playing on the Classic era servers and copying their characters, and putting some kind of monetary barrier on that decision will filter people out extremely effectively, but this much is really, really overdoing it, to the point where it's the kind of restrictive pricing that you see frequently on other Blizzard services, which are near always automated and overpriced. And on retail, most things are between, what, $25 to $30? I can understand why you don't want people changing server all the time or swapping faction non-stop, but why on earth would you put some kind of restrictive pricing on people being able to do this? There's just absolutely no rhyme or reason behind it. In any event, this pricing will be harmful, and it will be negative for Classic era servers. So what do I think about this? What do I think about all these new things that Blizzard has added to the game? I'll tell you what I think.
You want to know how I really feel? You want to know how I really fucking feel? I don't care anymore.
I actually have a lot to say about these microtransactions. There are a ton of contradictions, as there always are, but I'm just defeated at this point.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I am at the moment as well. Who cares, dude? Who cares? It's one boost, it's one mount, it's only available for the deluxe edition. When it comes to actual real money transaction for the games, at this point, whatever, dude. Just do it. And I'm feeling kind of at the same point with the botting situation side of things as well. How many different videos have I done saying fix the game, 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 ban bots, ban bots, ban bots, and just seemingly nothing's happened. There was that one big ban wave they announced some time ago, and since then, well, let's have a look, shall we? Let's do a quick who in Blackrock Depths, Blackrock Dep, and wow, would you look at that? Would you look at that? The next generation of workers preparing us for TBC right there. This has been ongoing since midway through last year. There's no reason this should still be existing. Even if you don't ban them, there are other changes you could have done. You could have increased the spawn timer on pickpockets. You could have made it so you need to reset after you pickpocket once. This is pure armchair developer talk. I know it's an old game with old code. It might be really janky, but just fix it. Literally just fix it. Throw money at it and fix it. And you're just not fixing it and continually allowing this to exist. And you know what? Midway through TBC, we're going to get an announcement where Blizzard are going to say, well, you know, we're having a real tough time with all of these gold buyers and botters, so we're going to throw the token in, so that's not going to be a problem anymore. Similar to how it's not a problem on retail anymore. Oh, wait, yes, it is. Despite that game also having an actual box price. It's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. I'm definitely going to continue to do videos on more gameplay related things, and funnily enough, I think Blizzard has been doing a good job with the changes that they've been addressing to TBC. Like I mentioned earlier, putting a debuff on drums, the profession swapping, stopping the open world buffs being used in dungeons, and Blizzard has even tried to fix the boosting that mages have shown that's possible in slave pens so far, as I saw a video on last night and I went and checked it myself just to show you really quick. People have already found a way around this, by the way. It took them all of about a few hours to work out how to beat this, but at least it shows an intention that they aren't happy with it, and it's something that they would like to try and address in the game, which again I think is good. But for all the value-added stuff, the monetization that's going to come with TBC, I mean, congrats, you've convinced another 16-year WoW veteran that it's just not worth the time and effort to talk about it anymore. I'm going to wager phase 3, when you can boost Draenei and Blood Elves, the WoW token will be out before Wrath of the Lich King, and maybe we'll even get more store mounts, especially a flying one at some point in the expansion as well. There's so many reasons people care about this game. There's so many reasons Blizzard have lost 30% of their player base during COVID, during a time when people are literally forced to be in their homes, and they're losing players. And there's so many reasons why, despite this, they've made more money than ever. What they may be able to make in revenue, they're losing in goodwill, which is this intangible currency, which I feel every company has to a degree. And they built that up sky high, almost to an infinite amount during Vanilla to Wrath, I'd say. CD Projekt Red had a near infinite amount as well, off the back of Witcher 3 until they released the Rush Cyberpunk. Don't forget that Activision's had a majority share in Blizzard since the Wrath of the Lich King era of World of Warcraft now. They've been about for a very long time, and all the hands that built the goodwill that's existed at Blizzard for such a long time have been gradually fading away, leaving, quitting, going to greener pastures over the past few years. I'm even hearing Shadowlands being called WOD 2.0 now, as it's heading towards a 10-month first major content patch. Maybe the goodwill at Blizzard does have a finite number, after all. That's the video. Don't particularly like doing this kind of thing, but I think it is important. When it comes to monetization, it is what it is. I'll continue to make gameplay-oriented things where I believe there are issues or things could improve, as I frequently do, as well as the regular content I make. I don't want the channel to turn into a Blizzard is bad channel, but man, they make that difficult to do sometimes. Let me know your thoughts on all of this, though. If you managed to make it to the end, good job. And as always, thanks so much for watching and listening in, and I'll see you all in the next one very soon.